Good morning, my name is Chris Fox, and today we're talking about selling audiobooks in 2020. I haven't done one of these since I think 2018. It's been a while. And I do get a lot of questions about audiobooks. How is the market doing? What's different? And this is going to be a long video. And the last half of it is me showing the launch of the complete Magitech Chronicles audiobook. It's done extraordinarily well. I want to say 1,000 copies in the first 6 days. So very quickly exceeding my expectations, and hopefully will continue to do well. But I want to talk more generally about what's going on with audiobooks and what we're seeing. The first thing is that ACX has absolutely been swamped. And I'm talking before we had any sort of medical crisis, they were already swamped. So days before that crisis hit, a lot of us were getting emails saying, hey, listen, we went from it's going to take us 2 weeks to it's going to be 25 business days for us to complete a review process on a book. In my case, it took almost 2.5 months, or maybe a little bit over 2.5 months, for them to QC the complete Magitech Chronicles. And part of the problem in my case was the length of the book. It's 66 hours, and they ran into some challenges, I think. But still, that's an extraordinarily long amount of time for them to take to review a book. And I'm hearing across the board it's not unusual. So lots of people are having long review times. That's relevant in that my audio launch and my ebook launch are now mostly separated. I used to try to structure them as close together as I could because they would feed off each other in a wonderful way. But now it's almost like getting 2 launches for the price of one. So neither one is as powerful independently, but together they give you 2 opportunities to capture some market share. So we're going to look at, some actual ranks, and we'll talk a little bit about the tactics that I'm using. The, don't want to watch the rest of the video version is I'm spending about $100 a day in advertising. Most of that is Facebook. I do some other sites, Reddit, and a few other places, but those are situational. Lots of those have very shallow pools, so they might run for like a week, and then you've sort of tapped out that audience. But I'm hitting a lot of very active advertising and spending a lot of time on my ads. And for the ad itself, I'm just letting the value proposition do its work. My first line is always X number of hours for 1 credit. And that works really well. So in this case, I'm saying 66 hours for 1 credit, and those ads are performing enormously well. Because everybody right now is value conscious. If you know you're going to be at home and audio is something you're doing for entertainment and you only have 2 credits a month because that's what your membership allows, or you only have 1, how are you going to spend it and how many hours do you get? And when you hear something like 66, you can listen for a long time. And as it turns out, truck drivers are still driving right now. So they are a very eager market for new long audio content. And those are some of the people that are picking it up. Anyway, we'll jump into the second half of the video. If you have questions, please feel free to ask those in the comments, and I'll do my best to answer them. Okay, so we're going to look in real time at the Magitech Chronicles, see how it's doing, and I'll show you exactly what I've done to launch it. And it's not much. That's the beauty of this. Most of why this book is succeeding is in the offering itself. So you guys hear me babble about this all the time. It's so vital that you get your cover right. It is critical, and this is my best cover, period. If you look across my entire catalog of books, there are covers that'll give it a run for its money, like the Dartboard Burt, but nothing tops Tech Mage, the first book in the Magitech Chronicles. And so I chose to use that for the box set, knowing that this artwork is going to intrigue people. You've got the silhouette of the planet. You've got the 2 moons. You've got dragons. You've got a spell. You've got a rifle and power armor. I mean, there's so much going on here that intrigue the lover of science fiction and fantasy. And they can see that, there's 3,000 ratings. So this is not some brand new series that, that you have to take a chance on. Many other people have taken a chance and they've said it's good. And so you have less risk. So they're much more likely to buy it. And then, of course, the big selling point, this is why the book is blowing up the charts, is 66 hours in length with a complete ending. That's the big difference. So when you finish that 65th hour, you're not going to have to buy another book or wait for something else to be released. You can just finish this epic saga that you purchased. And I was gambling that this would do really well, but it's exceeding my expectations by quite a lot. Anyway, so if we look at ranks, on the first day that it released, on April 20th, it got up to 412 in the store. And I want to make this clear, guys. Audible didn't tell me they were going to release it. ACX didn't say, hey, dude, in 4 days, a launch is going to happen, so be ready. It just came out on a Monday. And I was like, oh, crap, what do I do? So I scrambled to get a launch together. And you can see by the end of the first day, I managed to push it up to number 412 in the store. So I was frantically doing promotion. I emailed my list. I requested codes right away, which we're going to talk about in a minute. I pinged my lists, I mentioned it on social media, and I started advertising as the big thing right away. Right away, I started advertising this, like within, minutes of knowing it existed. And so I kept ramping it up the next day, and you can see, I was getting some results, and I got up to about 321 in the store. And this is an important level, and I'm going to show you why in a minute. And then the next day, we're up above the 300 line into the low 200s, and it kind of waffles around this area for the next several days. And this is where the magic is really happening, keeping it here. And I'll show you why, because when we look at the ranks, it'll be very clear to you why that matters. You can see as of right now, it's fallen to 304. I think this is largely because I'm out of audio codes to give away. So I guess we'll jump into audio codes next. So what you're looking at here, guys, first off, let me say that all of these are redeemed. So the codes that you're seeing, you can't scribble those down and give those out. These will do nothing for you. They are worthless. But what we're looking at is the fact that you can see now redeemed codes. This was not the case. So the way that it used to be is Audible would send you an email with just a block of 25 codes in a text document, and here you go. And you'd fire those off and just kind of wonder what happened. Well, eventually they updated their system, and now we can see by marketplace whether or not codes have been redeemed. And so why that matters is you can keep requesting more codes. So if we scroll down here, you can see request additional promo codes. Once your book has achieved 10 promo code redemptions and 100 qualified sales, you can request 25 more codes. And what that means for most people, if you're doing any promotion at all, is you need to get 10 codes redeemed. The beauty of this now is if people don't redeem your codes, you still have the ability for the available codes to send them out again. So you can tell people, hey, listen, guys, and I'm about to do this with my list. Hey, listen, 10,000 rabid fans, if you have not redeemed the code that I gave you by Friday, I'm going to give it to somebody else. And you'll get a second chance to redeem the code. And some people, they live in the wrong marketplace, or they don't understand how to redeem codes, or they forgot about it. And so you get a real chance to redeem all 100. And I've been sending out codes continuously and also working with Ryan. So the beauty of doing a royalty split on Audible, one of the advantages with ACX is that we both get codes. So I have 100 and he has 100. And so basically he requested all his codes and I requested all my codes. And we sent them all out, and it was all happening in this window right here. So, the codes started going out on day one, and we continued to give them out every day until I think April 23rd. That's when we started running out. We had a few more to give out on April 24th, and then you can see we're starting, trending downward a little bit because we have no more codes. But actual sales are still piling in, and this is the part that blows me away. My sales for audio have not been good of late. If we look over the last 7 days. And one of the things is you'll see lag time here. So notice that we're at 13 units for the last 7 days. If I go back to the 25th, it'll barely change at all because Audible takes time to update. So it now is 1291. I lost like 20 sales. So you're really a couple days, like 48 hours behind the times. But I can look at from 420, the day the book came out, until 425. And if you look at your total sales here, you'll see it's 1,000 sales in the first 6 days. And that's because, if we go, do I have it up on Audible? I do. Okay, so let's go to browse, science fiction and fantasy, space opera. It's in a few genres, but if we look at, say, space opera, for example, even after the rank has slipped, it's effectively above the fold on the main page that they're going to see. It's going to be one of the first books that they look at. So if you're coming to this page, you don't have to scroll, you don't have to click anything different. The image is already on the screen. So as long as you can maintain that, you're going to see more sales. Now, space opera is one of the smaller genres. In a larger genre like epic fantasy, when I was in that 200 range, I was on, I think, the third page here. So, these are all my childhood heroes. I can't even, imagine that my name is showing up next to people like C.S. Lewis and Tolkien and Martin, and Robert Jordan was one of my favorites. But I was on page, I think the best was maybe number 3. And if I'm on, so I'm on page 5. It takes some scrolling, but if you've read most of the classics in epic fantasy, which a lot of people have, if you've read George R.R. Martin, if you've read Brandon Sanderson, if you've read The Witcher, I'm the next new thing. So I'm still getting quite a few sales from that. And so, they're trickling in very, very quickly. 150 to 175 a day. It's going really, really well. And I expect that will continue for a while because I have a variety of markets that I'll be tapping into. I'll be running, Reddit ads and Facebook ads and various other places where people have not been exposed to this. And the value proposition of, hey, I can give you 66 hours of entertainment in a new universe with a complete ending. Do you want to check this out? It's a no-brainer for a lot of audio listeners. So that's why this has been as successful as it has. And I want to say that if you have something that is much shorter, under 10 hours, it's going to be like pushing a boulder uphill no matter what mark you're in. Even nonfiction, where, shorter is okay, you're still going to struggle. So the magic number I have found, it's still 10 hours to this day, 5 or 6 years later after we first talked about that. People want to see double digits, and the higher the better. If you can bundle 2 or 3 or 4 books together, those are all my top sellers. So all of my series have an anchor where they have a quadrilogy or a trilogy or even a complete series being sold like this so that people can get a really good deal for their money. And that's worked well. And what I find is people will finish the Magitech Chronicles, the main series. They'll check out Magitech Legacy, which is the new series. But they'll also check out my Deathless series and my Void Wraith series because I have lots of long audio by the same narrator on Audible. So if you spent 66 hours listening to Ryan Kennard Burke's wonderful narration of the Magitech Chronicles, and you're like, what do I listen to next? You could jump right into Deathless, and it's the same narrator, with new characters in a different universe. Or Void Wraith, same deal. New characters, different universe, but same comfortable narrator. So I'm trying to build an audio brand in that regard, and it's turning out to be profitable. Anyway, if you have specific questions about what I'm doing to promote this, feel free to mention it in the comments. A lot of it is advertising, primarily on platforms like Facebook. Has been really good to me. There are a few others where I'm getting a little bit of success, but they're all smaller, like Reddit. I am finding, by the way, these ads are short term. Like you can't run an ad, like just set it and forget it for even a long audiobook. I am having to tend to these pretty constantly to keep sales trickling in, but you can see that it's been effective. I mean, the ranks on this are unquestionably good and right where I want to see them. And Audible hasn't done any promotion yet. And let me be very clear about what that can translate into for you. I just talked to a good friend of mine by the name of Scott Bartlett. He's a wonderful science fiction author. If you haven't checked him out, go buy his books. Where are you, Scott? You're probably on this page somewhere already. Let's see. You're probably here somewhere. There it is. So Mothership is the name of Scott's book. And what happened, I emailed Scott to ask him, what are you doing to promote this? Because I looked and I've been, pushing and advertising and strategizing, and I've gotten my box set, which is really, really long, up to like number 230 in the store. And Scott's sitting at number 63 in the entire store. And the reason was Audible sent out an email. Audible decided, hey, this is something that we think that our audience would absolutely love. And so they told the world about it. And all of a sudden it skyrocketed up the charts, and it's nothing but pure profit for him because he has a good product. He pushed as hard as he could at launch. He did really well with it. I think he said it hit at like number 800 in the store. But because it's only 10 hours, like 10 hours is that magic number, but lots of people were looking for 20 or 30 or 40 hours. It did really well. Audible noticed it was new content they thought their audience would like, and hey, they're promoting it. My hope is that if I keep pushing really hard on the Magitech Chronicles, they'll do exactly the same thing. And the value proposition there, if Audible were to tell their list, I mean, that would just be insanity in terms of sales. So if you are new to the Audible store, if you are working with ACX for the first time and just getting your audiobook up there, the name of the game is content and length. You need to get more stuff up there that is high quality. They're looking for long series. Short does not do well. Find a narrator that you trust and like, form a partnership, or, you can pay them if you want, per finished hour, or if that's what they require. But in my case, I'm looking for a partner for life, somebody that's always going to want to work with me and do books with me. And so we do royalty share across most titles, not all, but most of them. Yeah, anyway, I think that's all of my pontificating. Oh, except for one more detail. I saw I had this page up and I was scrolling down like, why did I have this here? I was going to make some point. Well, here's the point. This is the bestsellers in epic fantasy, which is my favorite genre and always has been and probably always will be. I mean, I have read all of the books that you're seeing on the screen, like except for Rhythm of War, because that's not out yet. But I've read the rest of these. And as you scroll down, you get to this little fold in the middle here for new releases, most wished for, and gift ideas. And of course, the first one, reader's eyes generally start on the left, is new releases. And so you've got this nice splash of blue that really draws the eye. And that number 3 pole position is so important because if you're number 4 or number 5 or number 6, like you're on this list, but people will never see you unless they specifically choose to come to the new releases list. And so like this is kind of the holy grail. If you can hit the rank where you're in the top 3 new releases in a couple of big genres, you're going to get so many organic sales from the store. And I'm sure that's part of what I'm seeing in addition to the advertising that I'm doing. Anyway, guys, this is more rambly than I would like. It's hard to explain an organic game plan. This launch has required a lot of time and attention from me. I've been micromanaging it every day for, at least a half hour, sometimes an hour. but it's been worth it, and it's selling really well. So I am looking forward to the point where probably at the end of next week, I will dial down a lot of the spending on the ads. I'm at about $100 a day across all platforms. It's trended, up a couple times and hit 150, but in general, I'm spending about $100 a day trying to push this and resulting in 200 plus sales. So yeah, that's as much information as I feel like I have that I can share. Hopefully this is useful. Let me know in the comments. I will try to see you next week. I got some messages after missing a week, guys. I'm doing my best, but I can't promise I'm going to have a video up every week. So when I say I'll see you next week, that's not literal anymore. All right, guys, I'm going to get back to the writing. I'll see you next week.